this role in here, and I'll introduce myself. I'm Scott. I work in operations here. We all kind of wear multiple hats, so I do stuff in logistics and part sourcing, quality control, things like that. So I deal with the actual physical inventory. I've been working here for about 3 years. So, Mike?
I'm Mike. I've been working here for about 2 years. I do customer service. I'm technical support for various and sundry things, and so I absolutely love it. And the mission that we have is great, and I'm really excited.
There we go. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that the video wasn't on. There we go. Now we can see you guys. There we go.
Don't get away.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. There,
but yeah, it's I see a lot of various and sundry issues, and I enjoy helping people out.
Sweet. So we're rolling with this, and yeah, we'll go from there. Get this. Okay, so we.
Sharing the screen.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
It's under this.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
First time using this. Hold on a second. Let's see if this works. There you go. Okay. Okay. This screen sharing. So hopefully you guys can see this.
Because I can't hear you, I want to make sure you can see that. Terry, can you type if you can actually see that? Like what we're doing with the screen?
Okay. Gotcha. Good. Okay. So we started in 2003, formed by two guys, Cal Poly, here in San Luis, California. They got the idea basically to fund part of their way to college by selling laptop parts, they basically, out of their dorm room, just created a business selling these parts. And what really got it going even before that was basically Kyle broke his iBook G3 and needed to fix it. And he looked for a long time on how to actually fix the component that was broken. He couldn't find any sort of technical documentation on how to fix it. And so he quickly realized that there was no access to this stuff for people on how to fix the computer. So he took it upon himself. He basically cataloged the whole thing, the whole repair, and found the part, and then basically said, hey, this is a great idea. We can put this together, package it, and put these manuals out there for free. And then sell the parts to go along with it. So basically, the moment of inspiration there was when he basically realized we needed to have more technical documentation on how to fix this stuff. So as right now, we have 1,000 repair manuals on the site. It's basically varied across. We got our start in the Apple realm, and now we are adding guides to various other devices, including Android and computers, everything from that kind of stuff to even cars. We've got a guide up in there how to fix a broken radiator hose. So it varies quite a lot. We're still trying to add lots of content. So we log those basically successes on our site. You have a little option to click at the end of the guide. So we've logged over 1 million. So far, people that have actually successfully completed a repair using one of the guides on this site. So we've got millions of visitors each year. It's great to see people responding. It's very clear that people want to repair their stuff, and yeah. So, Mike.
So part of what we do is we will present teardowns. And we will go to extreme lengths. For example, right now, our guide makers, our team who makes the guides, the repair manuals, is currently tearing down the Wii U, which just was released earlier this morning. And for example, we've sent our fearless leader Luke over to New Zealand several times.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a picture there to the right. I don't know why it's showing that.
I think.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, there we go. So that's him, number one in line, waiting for the new iPad 3rd gen.
Yeah, and I mean, and there are some instances where, unfortunately, or fortunately, we're able to get for the iPad Mini, as an example, we were able to get one locally before Luke was able to get one in New Zealand. And part of the reason we do that is because it's important to be first to get that torn down, because people are really excited about seeing the inside of these new devices. And it's great for businesses who are involved in making the iPad as well. And usually and then at the end of the teardown, we'll have a neat layout. And I'm sure some of you have seen pictures like these, which are more likely than not from us. And it just is a great way to look at all of the components that make up the devices that we each love to use and play with.
Yeah. It's interesting. As we've gone along, we've discovered all sorts of different people using these guides and these teardowns for various reasons. One of the newer trends we've seen is we get calls from investors looking at who's manufacturing this component and who's making this chip, who's responsible for this part, and because it affects stocks and whatnot. So it's really interesting to be directly involved in that whole process of just basically influencing stock prices and whatnot. So I don't know. It's always something new that we're coming across people using these guides for. So we can talk about repair for a little bit. That's what we stand for, really. We firmly believe that you should have the right to repair your devices, and that's basically why we exist. We want to enable the user to repair their own stuff because, you bought it, you own it, you should have the ability to fix what went wrong with it. Just a quick reasons to repair. The big one is it saves you money. That's the big one. These parts are readily accessible out there. You just have to do a little digging, and the cost to repair your device is usually, depending on the device, usually far cheaper than just replacing it or even taking it into a specialist to have them do the repair for you. So,
or even Apple themselves.
Right. So, yeah. Right. So. Plus, it's just the satisfaction of doing it yourself is something that's awesome too. I don't know. Mike can probably speak a little bit from the customer service side. The success stories that are out there.
I've gotten many emails from people like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought I could ever do a repair on my phone, and thank you so much for making this possible. My battery wasn't charging for it could only last an hour, and it ends up, they've replaced the battery, and all of a sudden their phone is back to how it was new. Same with screens. Oh, I dropped my phone. I dropped it, cracked the screen. It just shattered, and I never thought it would be possible to just replace it and just have my phone be working again. And I've had so many emails like that, time after time. And it's so great to see that people actually are doing this, and then they do have a great experience doing it. And that they are so happy and so pleased with themselves, because it really is a confidence boosting thing. Like, oh, I could totally do this. I can do this, and I can do great things. So it's really a good help for people involved in that as well.
Yeah. Terry, I also want to say, I have my phone here in case you need to send me a message. I can't see anything, obviously, while I'm doing this. So just if you need to say anything to me, you can send it email to my email address, and I can get it here just in case. The other thing I want to talk about when it comes to repair is what we're really starting to be more active in, and that's basically just the whole issue with e-waste and the disposal, recycling, reuse of electronics. So basically, we're going through electronic components as a society at an exponential rate. There we go. So we are going through more devices at faster rates: computers, laptops, cell phones, all that kind of stuff is basically, the technology is just advancing so quickly that the newest and greatest thing is here so quickly that you want to upgrade to that. And you want to basically ditch the thing that you've only had for a little while. So basically, we're creating a massive amount of electronic waste that is becoming a concern. I mean, the questions that we're asking people are, what's going to happen to that thing you own in 5 years? I mean, how many of you have cell phones, sitting in your drawers that are really not that old, maybe 5, 10 years old, but they're just not doing anything. They're just sitting there. So all those devices are going to make their way to some location, whether it be recycling or just thrown into a landfill or something like that. So basically, this is why we think repair is important. Because we need to extend the use of a lot of these, the lifespan of these devices as much as we can, because we are just creating a crazy amount of electronic waste. The Recellular, a company that's responsible for recycling cell phones, estimates that there's 1 billion cell phones in people's drawers that are not being used right now. 1 billion. So that's an insane amount. And I mean, that number is just kind of staggering. There's clearly a need for the reuse of devices and the proper recycling of older devices as well. So the big thing is the environmental aspect.
Yeah. With the environmental aspect, there are definitely issues along the supply chain. For example, when they do the mining for a lot of these materials, which it's estimated that most of the cell phones out there currently have half of the periodic table involved in their creation and involved in that are involved in the logic board. And so there definitely are some concerns with where we're getting the materials and how that's affecting our planet. And then also with the disposal and recycling, a lot of these devices are ending up in landfills and not being recycled. And the materials that are the materials in the logic board, when they are recycled, a lot of them unfortunately are not reclaimed. A lot of them, the rare earth metals, are not being reclaimed because it's very difficult to reclaim those materials from various electronics. And as you can see here, there's 17 times more gold in a pound of electronics than a pound of gold ore. So we should be spending more time on this and spending a much more concerted effort on trying to reclaim a lot of those minerals and reclaim a lot of those rare earth metals that are in these electronics, because without those, our electronics just kind of stop functioning, and we're eventually going to run out. And so we will have to work on getting that back. So where does all this stuff go, though?
So basically, we've started visiting places. This is in Ghana, and we've started to go around and figure out what people are doing with some of the stuff that we are throwing out and recycling. And basically, we're just learning the whole infrastructure is a mess. Just the government regulation of it, even the very people that say they're recycling your device could end up right here. This is some people's idea of recycling. So basically, as you can see, there's tons of stuff that's being shipped off that we're not seeing because we're the issue has not become wide enough of a concern yet. But basically, all this stuff is being shipped off and burned in ways like this, so you can get down to the precious metals, just like the copper wire, and as you can see there, this guy's getting paid $3 to $4 a day, which is good for them, but they have no idea what they're doing. They just have no idea the effects that this is having. There's hundreds of places like this where basically e-waste is just piling up, and it's eventually going to become a huge problem, because this is just not the way we can continue to recycle devices or just deal with it. So
there are 1.3 million pounds of arsenic that are released annually through e-waste burning, and that have been buried in various and sundry ways. And there are so many toxic parts of this that are just killing. I mean, in Africa, in Ghana specifically, there are people dying from doing this, and they don't know why. Oh, I don't know why I'm dying. Well, if you look at what you're spending your time doing, you might find that, oh, this is why I'm doing this. Or if we educated them on how to fix these devices instead of burning them just to get the rare earth metals or the gold or the copper, instead of throwing it away because of a device that's functioning, is a lot more valuable than a part that, or than the materials that are contained within it.
So basically, this is where we come in. We're trying to eliminate part of the problem here by expanding the lifespan of those devices that we can. Obviously, some of this stuff is just not going to last forever. Obviously, this stuff's not going to last forever, but and some of it's just going to be outdated, and you got to move beyond it. But there are various things out there that you can extend the life on. So that's basically where we're trying to minimize barriers for repairing. All the manuals that we publish are free. You can have free access to them. We provide them in various formats. You can print them with PDF. You can embed them, all sorts of stuff. It's all free. No charges for that at all. Accessible, obviously, it's on the internet. It's out there for everyone who can get access to the internet. It's out there for all to see it. We're trying to be as easy as we can. We're trying to create a structure, an infrastructure for the creation of these guides that makes it easy for users to make them and to use them. So the other thing we're trying to do is build the community behind it. It's collaborative. All the guides are wiki format, so basically you can go on right now and look at a guide and say, hey, this looks like this could use this extra step. You can put that step in there. It's going to go off to one of the people who's moderating it, and they'll prove it or disprove it. But if it's proved, it'll show up there, and you've contributed to the growth and the development of that's this guide. So we're trying to bring other people in on this. So it is just a huge online repair manual that everybody can have access to and just really benefit from in that way. So like I said, like I was talking about earlier, the complicated. Some of these repairs are really complicated. So with some of these repairs, like replacing a battery on the device, sometimes is easy. But some of these stuff, like replacing a screen on an iPhone, may be a little harder. So that's where the guys really come in. You really need to do really help with confidence building and making the user just much more comfortable with what they're doing. So yeah, cracking open the black box, I'm just kind of referring to the devices that are really hard to open. No screws on the outside. Just like, how the heck do you get into this thing? That's basically where we come into play and try and really come up with ways to get into things that are completely, from all outward appearances, inaccessible.
Well, and it goes right into the quote that by Arthur C. Clarke, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But we want to show that, oh no, this is totally based in technology. So yeah.
So we basically we are trying to provide information to and the means to get that information out to make this possible for the community. Sorry. That's good. So this is where, basically, we're reaching out to Mac user groups. We believe that there are forward thinkers out there who can see these problems and think that they can be a part of the solution. And we're all about enabling users. And so these are some practical things that are very easy to do. We'll show you some guides, just kind of how these things, these replacements, these upgrades, whatever, are very much easy to do by you, the user.
Right, and that way we all can become magicians, right? So with computer upgrades and fixing your computer, there are things that can be done to make it last longer. I've had a couple hard drives that I filled up. Like now what do I do? Crap, I gotta get a nice hard drive, my laptop. That's gonna be in the rear. So what you can do is you can actually go and upgrade the hard drive itself. And you can just swap in the swap in a bigger hard drive and move all the information on your current drive onto the new drive. And same with RAM. My computer's being really slow lately. I think I'm running a bunch of things. Perhaps I should consider upgrading RAM. And then, with Apple moving the way it's going as well, a lot of that is kind of fallen by the wayside because it's not as easy to do it anymore. Because they're soldering these things to the logic board nowadays. And also, one of the most common things with laptops that I've seen are the LCD breaks. Oh, I dropped my computer and my LCD is broken now. I've got this big black spot in the corner of it, and I can't see in that corner, and I need this laptop on my work. Well, that's one of the repairs that is totally feasible and totally doable, especially with the unibodies, with the front glass as well. That'll sometimes crack, and that'll need to be replaced as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of show you basically. I think with an iMac, you may wonder how the heck can you get into this thing. And it's actually pretty easy to the way they designed it. You just pop open the screen, a couple suction cups, it's actually magnetic. The way that screen is attached to it, and boom, right inside the LCD. So I know a lot of people probably drop their iMac, but this goes to show that getting into these guys for replacing fan, getting into these things is not all that hard. Just they're normal screws, and these connectors here. You're not doing any soldering in this guide at all. This is all just removing things with your hands with just very simple tools, and boom, you're right there to the fan. This is what this guide's for. So, very doable, very easy for moderate.
And as you can see on the guide as well, we list. For each guide, we also list the tools that are available for that, as well as what sections, like what needs to be removed in order to get to that fan. Like there are things that need to be done step by step, and as you can see with our guides, we also have pictures so that you can do it and follow the pictures directly. That way, there's no, you know exactly where you're at. So
here's another example. This is a fan on a MacBook Pro 13-inch unibody. Really easy repair. You take this into Apple, they're going to charge you quite a lot of money to do. But the repair itself, you just basically pop open the back, remove a couple things, and then boom, the fan's right there. So really easy to do. The parts are out there. We sell them. eBay has them. All sorts of people have them. So very much very easy to do for people who have various levels of experience with repair or just getting inside these kind of devices. Here's an example for an iPhone battery. Same kind of thing. I mean, just a couple screws on the bottom, pulling off that panel, and boom, the battery's right there. We're calling out just the things to be concerned about because a lot of people are kind of concerned about working with, something that costs $500-600, very, very much so. So we're trying to be as explicit as we can with directions and making it easy for people. So
and as straightforward as possible.
Yeah. So that's just a couple examples, and you can kind of see for those who are not familiar with how our guides work. So like I said before, if you see anything on these individual guides, you can always click Edit, and then it takes you to our Edit page, and you can kind of add in steps, do that kind of stuff. If you see changes that could be made or something like that, and and then very, very easy to be updated. So anyways,
and we also have along with that as well, we also have user contributed guides. For example, as silly as it is, we do have a guide for a banana on how to take apart a banana.
There are people that have fun with the website,
right? And I mean, a lot of and there are various and sundry repair manuals. But again, going back to things that can be fixed, just like we talked about with fans are very fixable, and they go bad, unfortunately. With moving parts, they do go bad. And then as batteries as well, how many, there's so many. I've had computers where, oh shoot, my battery is dead. Oh, my phone, or my laptop battery is only lasting, half-hour shoot. I need to go into if I can repair that battery or replace that battery, all of a sudden it has a new lease on life, and I can take it around and go various and sundry places with it. So
I mean, with batteries, it's kind of it's interesting if you think about it. Like, think back to like when the Walkman first came out, and how those very much had user replaceable batteries. Nowadays, I mean, even though the battery life on these devices is pretty good, I mean, you might get a year or two out of your iPhone. Like, we've completely lost the idea that, oh yeah, what do you mean? I don't have the ability to change out the battery myself? Like, you should have that ability to change out the battery yourself, just like you did with the Walkman. Like, these devices should be able to be extended beyond. I mean, they're basically planning in obsolescence to devices, so you upgrade to the next thing. I mean, it's just not a sustainable pattern. So that's one of the big things that we see. So, anyways, that's just kind of the presentation there. More info, iFixit.com. iFixit.org is more of our site for activism. I kind of had it up here. This basically has a bunch of different information on repair, e-waste, all this kind of stuff. So check this out if you want. There's a ton of cool stories on here, lots of people contributing. There's a lot of cool things just talking about repair, recycling, and electronics and where things are headed in that. So just kind of a different arm of where iFixit is reaching. So that's basically our presentation there. If you guys want to email us directly or contact us, those are our emails there, Scott and Mike. We can kind of open it up for questions and answer any questions if you guys have them. Anything from iFixit related stuff to e-waste to, if your iPhone's broken, what do you do with it? So let me turn our camera on here and I guess, I guess you can, if your camera's not working, there we go. If your mic isn't working, I guess you can type them to us or something like that.
Oh, you can echo. Sorry.
Is that working there? You always have to have specialized tools. On the latest things, a lot of the newer devices like the MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, and the iPhone, they all have a special screw on the bottom. So those do require specialized tools. Not all of them. Not all when you're talking about Mac products need it. But basically, the pentalobe screw is Apple's new thing. They've only come up with in the last little while to really be the specialized driver. But in general, most of them are normal bits. I mean, it could be that we see the rise of proprietary screws like that. So I don't know. I mean, right now it's just limited to those pentalobe screws that you need a special driver for. But maybe in the future we'll see more.
Yeah, those are, if the screws don't look like a regular Phillips, it's most likely the pentalobe.
Yeah, they just looks like a very small star. That's the pentalobe. I mean, the Philips obviously has a distinct look to it. So basically any of the new iPhones, any of the iPhone 5, the 4S, the CDMA iPhone 4, Verizon, and a lot, not all, but a lot of the GSM AT&T iPhone 4s all have the pentalobe driver on them, so or the pentalobe screw on them.
We do sell the batteries and the fans. We do sell a lot of parts for Macs, iPhones, iPods, iPads, and we do sell them on the website. So, yeah.
You need camera parts.
Camera parts. We'd love to do camera parts. we've done camera teardowns before. Those things are so complicated that selling individual parts for it is pretty hard. Even getting, I mean, things like the LCD or something like that, getting to that part is immensely complicated. So we're, kind of keeping our eyes out and ears open for how we could possibly do it. But camera repair is just really hard, just with the way that those devices are constructed. As far as just selling Apple parts, in the parts realm, most of the stuff we deal with is Apple at this point. We
carry a few parts for Xbox. And,
right. Some game system stuff, but we are writing repair manuals and have lots of other people involved in the repair manual process for a variety of devices. Any sort of noteworthy device that's coming out, we're writing repair manuals for those. Or one of the things we also do is we partner with schools around the country, a lot of college-level tech writing classes. We actually are partnering with them and shipping devices off to them, and they are creating guides and as part of their curriculum, getting credit for it, and that's just really adding to the wealth of content that's on iFixit.com. So. You look like a young Steve Jobs. I think you're talking about him. I don't know if that's intentional or not. I think
no, it actually wasn't.
I think you probably just made his day. Very good. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Go ahead.
Anything on their website about diagnosing problems or anything like that?
Okay.
We do have a few troubleshooting guides that are available on the website that can be found if you do a search for like iPhone 3G. We have for each repair section we have what is known as a device page, which will have those troubleshooting guides on them.
Yeah. One of the other things too is our if I can go back here.
Share this.
Yeah, it's okay here. I can show you basically our answers section of our site. Which I'm going to stop this for a second, sorry, and show you. Let's see here. I moved that. I wanted to show you that. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is. Yeah, just go. Sorry about this. So the other part of our site is answers. iFixit Answers, and that did not load. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So this is, as far as diagnosing and troubleshooting problems, this is a great way to find solutions to problems. So basically, you can ask a question out here, and someone can respond. We have a ton of people involved here. And everything from Mac-related stuff to any sort of device. Here's somebody asking about a washing machine. So this is just on the front page right now. There's even ones like how do you stop a large oil well from leaking? This came out a little while ago, for those of you who were into current events. So this is actually one of the ones that got a lot of views. So lots of interesting responses on how to stop a large oil well from leaking. But you get a variety of stuff out there, so lots of interesting content. But that's a great way to help get help on a variety of problems. So. I'll stop this here. Start my webcam up. Right there. Okay.
We do sell tools. We sell a lot of tools. We have a 54-bit driver kit that includes most of the tools for most repairs like that. So
yeah, we sell tools is something that we're trying to expand a lot because it's obviously, we can sell parts for specialized in Apple stuff, but the tools are really where we can make a lot of impact, just because they're usable for a variety of things other than just Apple repair. So the 54-bit kit, which he's talking about, we're trying to take the most common bits out there used in repair. We have our team kind of surveying technicians, seeing what's being used, what's not being used, and it's constantly evolving. We're trying to create tool sets that are very much helpful for what's being repaired today. So that's just an example of something we sell as far as tools go.
Yeah. And it's great for, because the more tools that we have in the hands of people, the more likely that devices are going to get repaired rather than thrown away as well. Or even opened up. Because even opening up a device, even if you're not able to fix it, is really important, especially for the kids. So.
Yeah, for you tinkerers out there, it's kind of fun. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely concerned. Depends on what you're working with. We have various technique guides on static control, dealing with static electricity. We sell various work mats that are electrostatically safe, and always working with like a anti-static wristband is a good idea. It's actually, people are probably in general more concerned about it than they need to be, but definitely can never be too cautious when it comes to that stuff, and especially around things like hard drives and stuff where there's data where if something goes wrong, it's obviously a big problem. So
it's not as big of a concern as it probably used to be. It definitely is a concern that there are things that can go wrong. And we do, like he was saying, we do sell a number of products that are ESD safe, but it's probably not as big of a deal as it was years ago. And part of that is because the technology has gone a lot to batteries, and various and sundry things. So, when dealing with like a desktop, I would recommend ensuring that you're grounded, but other than that,
yeah, I mean,
it's recommended.
The other thing when it comes to opening up these things, the only thing that becomes, as long as you're not opening up something that's connected to power and running through AC, the only thing that you really need to worry about as far as opening up is like a power supply for a computer. And those things can have capacitors that have charges in them that are stored up, and that can cause a little bit of a shock. But that's really the only thing that's a problem when working on that kind of stuff. We don't actually have any guides for repairing power supplies themselves. Just internally, we have them for replacing them, but we try to stay away from putting guides up on how to do dangerous things like that.
Repairing oil rigs is,
yeah,
100% safe.
Yeah, repairing oil rigs is different.
Recommendations
How much to do with like your hard drive or RAM or your DOS disk?
Okay.
Where to take it?
I always get excited when it says Terry White is typing.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, usually when you're replacing it, it's either bad or you're upgrading. When it's bad, proper e-waste recycling is good. Is the best thing to do. What's the website that we recommend for finding places to recycle, like batteries and stuff like that?
We use a couple different websites. I can't think of it off the top of my head. We recommend for replacing battery or for recycling batteries. Give me a second. I can pull that up real quick.
Yeah, we as far as like things that are good, and it's tough, for those of you who are tech savvy or have, are used to selling stuff on eBay. That's what I do myself. I resell it. There's somebody else out there that can use it, even if it's something that's you get only a few bucks for. Most of the time you're upgrading an old hard drive. It doesn't, it's kind of obsolete maybe, but somebody will pay something for it. So
the website that we use, or that I recommend, is calltorecycle.org, and it'll give you a list of recycling centers that are located near you.
And it's part of the thing that we're trying to do is, because a lot of recycling centers are really not recycling things properly, so we're trying to be more
proactive.
Yeah, proactive in getting better regulation on how that stuff's being done. So it's really hard to find the true best e-waste recycler in your area. For us, example, like in San Luis Obispo, there's probably, you search for e-waste recycling, there's 15, 20 places that pop up. But we don't like any of them and where they're ending up because we're not sure about exactly, you can't follow the path of where that's going to end up, knowing that it's going to be in the right spots. We actually drive truckloads of stuff down to LA to get rid of. So that's the problem that we're facing, is that there's not a lot of good infrastructure behind this. So it's something that we're working on. So you have a box called RAM. Yeah. Depending on what it is exactly, I mean, I see on stuff on eBay, like lots of stuff like that, that sell for a few bucks, but, with stuff that's obsolete, a lot of times it needs to be just properly recycled, and that's where, we need to be better at finding places that are doing this properly. So how can you recover the gold from your outdated electronics?
Cha-ching.
Yeah. I don't really know. Throw it in the microwave for 15 minutes, see what happens.
No,
Okay.
Don't recommend that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I haven't tried it myself.
Send it to cash for gold.
Yeah, a lot of people that are burning the electronics, like you saw in those pictures, are burning it down to get like the copper. The copper wire is a lot of times what they're going after.
Yeah, and with copper prices on the rise as well, that makes a lot of sense as well. As far as recovering the gold from it, good luck. We unfortunately don't have any recommendations for that. So,
Anyone else?
Is there a problem with intellectual property if they upload other people's manuals to their site for fixing appendix or form car?
Yeah, copyright stuff. It's complicated. There's a short answer. We're even just recently we ran into an issue where Toshiba decided to take down. There's other sites that have manuals published, and we're not the only one that's put stuff up there. But there was a site in Australia that was publishing manuals for Toshiba's products that was taken down because Toshiba said it violated copyright issues. So there are problems with that for sure, and it's not so much. It's a gray area, and we're trying to figure out exactly where it's headed. There's been some interesting developments in that whole realm. I believe that this past election, Massachusetts passed a law where
the right to repair.
Yeah, basically where car manufacturers for cars that are sold in Massachusetts will have to provide access to their service manuals by law. So there are some trends that are encouraging in that realm, but it's a gray area. With Apple, we haven't specifically run into problems with copyright stuff by putting the stuff out there. I mean, we're essentially
effectively, with our guides, with our manuals, they are under the Creative Commons license, and so and because we're making them as well, they can't really come after us for copyright infringement on that, because we're the ones making the manuals.
Yeah.
If we were releasing, like, for example, if we were releasing Apple's internal service manuals, then we would be running into a problem.
Right, and our site doesn't enable you to just upload a PDF just
Right.
flat out anyway. So we're very much, it has to be something that you're creating, and then it's applied under, like Mike said, the Creative Commons license, where it's not being used for profit and stuff like that.
Right. So.
Nice call.
All right. Thank you for
Well,
having us.
thanks for having us, guys. So like I said, if you have any more questions or want to get a hold of us, you can email us directly, Scott@ifixit.com, Mike at ifixit.com. We have normal, support channels too, but we're here to help, and just, thanks for having us, and you guys have a good one.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Yeah.
If they bailed, I think they bailed. No, we're still there. All right. Can you what?
Thinking about, Terry,
Sure.
I was thinking about the CNN and the hero, because on the first part of it, where they're trying to train people and to say some of those things, and they're doing that as a free thing. I wonder if anybody's ever thought about nominating them as a hero.
Oh, don't know.
Can you repeat it, Terry?
She was saying how has anyone basically nominated them to be a hero for teaching people how to save these electronics and lessen the amount of stuff that goes in landfills.
So I've been fortunate in meeting Luke and Kyle at Macworlds in the past, and got to know them many years ago as they were building up iFixit. One of the neat things about their game, if you order something online, they talked about a $50 set, but I bought a set off their website to take apart an iPhone 3GS, it was $4. So it's not significant, and I was able to take the 3GS that had a broken screen, figured really didn't have much value to it. I was able to buy the screen on eBay for about $6, something of that nature, and taking apart the phone, taking off the glass. The hardest part was actually using a hairdryer to melt out the glue that holds the glass on, and then trying not to cut your finger. So you gotta give yourself a nice working area on a kitchen table, give yourself some patience and some time. I decided to start with using an old phone that I didn't really care if I killed, and I was fortunate when I was done, minus a thumbprint on the back of the glass. But it works. Yeah, well.
Yeah, we gotta get them to sell white gloves.
Yeah. So, well, then your fingers get stuck. But heating that stuff up and trying not to burn your fingers and prying off all the glass out of the glue. One of the things somebody had asked about posting car manuals yourself. Kyle was actually in Detroit maybe a year and a half ago to meet with the executives at Ford, and because I knew him, I was able to meet up for lunch. One of his attempts was to try to meet with Ford to try to get them to release their manuals so that they could put all their manuals online. And basically, he walked out pretty frustrated for the obvious reasons. They have dealerships, and their expectations are going to bring the car to them at $70 an hour for them to fix your car. So there's third parties that do it. They were trying to go right to the source, and unfortunately, it didn't work. They're great guys. If you ever have an opportunity to meet them, I've not met these two guys, but I've met Luke and Kyle in the past, and they're really great guys. Talk your ear off about electronics, which is neat.
Great. All right, so clearly we will work on audio issues the next time we do this. One of the things about doing a two-way over computer type presentation like this, especially if you're broadcasting sound, is technically we really both want to be on headsets.
Yeah.
That would totally eliminate what we just ran into. But I know there was both of them trying to present, and going forward we'll definitely do headsets if and when we do this again.
Noise cancellation.
Yeah, noise cancellation, just because I couldn't even turn my microphone on because it's a microphone on the computer, it's picking up the sound, so it starts echoing right off the bat. Where if I had a headset on, I'd be able to do it just fine. But it was a good first experiment, and it was one of those kind of presentations where you may not have heard everything, but you know, he backed it up with visuals, and we kind of got the gist of it. And mostly, or for those of you who didn't get the gist of it, in a nutshell, their company is really designed to help you fix your own stuff by providing the manuals online for you to go look at, step-by-step instructions, pictures, by selling the parts and tools, if you want to buy from them, to actually do it. So the things that come to mind when I saw the presentation, and I know countless times over the years, I've seen people take their computers in to have the fan replaced or the battery replaced. And those two things alone are usually fairly easy enough for a common technically inclined person to be able to do themselves. When it gets a little hairier, you know, something's broken on the logic board itself, then you have to start weighing the cost of, because you're not going to get into soldering little pieces on the logic board, so you have to get into the cost of replacing that logic board versus not. So there are points of no return where it's not cheaper to do it yourself, or it's not cheaper to repair. But in many cases it probably is, and in many cases we're probably paying a lot more to have something repaired than we could have done it ourselves. So that was the point of this today. But their site is ifixit.com, for those of you who didn't catch that. The other site he answered the question about recycling was call2recycle.org. If we're looking for a local place to take something that you're trying to get rid of, but you don't want to just throw it away. And I probably have tons of those kinds of things. I have tons of outdated little pieces of electronics that are no use to me anymore, probably not much even of value to sell, don't want to throw away because it's a waste of a piece of electronics that someone could probably use. And so I'd love to have a place like this to dump that stuff on a regular basis, because it's just sitting and collecting dust, where I know someone could probably be using it, or it could be being recycled into something else. All right, yes?
When they recycle it, what do they do with it?
Well, if it's proper recycling, which what we saw the pictures of stuff just being burned, that's not proper recycling. When it's proper recycling, someone is actually separating the stuff out, they're going through it, they're actually taking pieces of it off, and basically separating the bins and shipping it out to companies that will reuse that stuff. That's proper recycling. When it's not proper, it's just being dumped and melted and buried. So, and that's what he was trying to say, is that they run into this all the time where a company claims to be recycling something and they're really not recycling. They're just being paid to get rid of it, so to speak.
Also, part of that properly is shredding the hard drive so information can't be
Right, yeah. So that's, again, that falls into the properly being recycled. And you mentioned cell phones. You know, like there was always a program that you could donate your cell phones to soldiers that didn't have cell phones. And my problem, I have a box of cell phones. My problem is not that I don't want to give them to a soldier. I'm never going to use them again. I would love to give them away. But I need to at least power them up one more time to get you just reminded me, get my information off of it. Or if I could trust that they would get my information off of it or clear it before redistributing it, then fine.
And it's still recoverable.
And it's still recoverable, yeah. So yeah, so that's always been my holdback on donating some of that stuff that I need.
Unless you donate the phone and keep the SIM card.
Yeah, well, some of it's in the memory in the phone. Yeah. So it's just always, that's been one of those things that held me back from getting rid of that box. Because I know that those phones have some data on it that I would want to clear, or have cleared first before I give it away. But good discussion, yes?
There's also a website, a business called Gazelle, that you can get money for old equipment. And they guarantee that their security safe, so that any data you have left on will be disposed of. So that's another alternative if you have old equipment.
Okay.
I got $15 for a broken iPod that fell in the water.
Yeah.
At Gazelle.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of just old iPhones in general, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but actually, let's go to the store. But Apple actually buys back iPhones now. Well, sort of. It's somewhere on the page. But anyway, bottom left. No, there's actually a link to where maybe it's on the iPhone page.
And at the bottom it says returns made easy.
No,
No.
it's in the recycling section.
But anyway, somewhere in their site, they have now where they will buy back your old iPhone. And so you basically go on the site, tell them what kind it is. They give you a ballpark price. Basically, if it matches what you say it is, it's the right phone, there's nothing wrong with it, so forth and so on. Or if there is something wrong with it, what that price would be. And what you get, they don't give you money. They give you store credit. So an Apple Store credit for that amount to buy whatever you want from the Apple Store. So if you have one of those original iPhone 3Gs, 3GSs sitting in the drawer somewhere and you never decide to sell it, Apple would, in some cases, be willing to buy it back. You might not get a lot of money for it, but you get more for it than what you're getting for it in the drawer right now.
Recycle.
So what is it?
Apple.com/recycle.
Okay. Here it is. So get an Apple Store gift card for the value of your old device. Select a category. So if it's Mac, notebook, iPad, iPhone. So let's no iPods. No. Let's say it's an iPhone. It's obviously by Apple. All the way back to the original one. So let's say I want to get rid of one of my 4s. And let's say it's 16 gig black. Continue. And does the phone work properly? Yes. Battery accept the full charge? Of course it does. Are there no cracks in the case? No. Are there, let's say no, it's pristine condition, no water damage, and I removed all the contents. And I'm supplying the power cord. The most I would get would be 140.
So mine for 235.
Yeah, that's what I said. If this is for people that don't want to go through selling, I want to just hand it over to Apple and they give me credit. Want to go through selling? More than likely, you will always get more.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, on the subject of recycling older phones and like donating it for people or for soldiers or something, if your phone, and I'm just curious, if your phone was like through AT&T or Verizon and you had data on it, would they, if you brought it back to that respective vendor where you had that service, would they, as a service to you, wipe the memory for you so that you can donate it safely?
Don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
The genius part will Apple can make it.
Don't know. I mean, I'm sure it will be up to each individual provider, first of all, and then at that point, each individual store and how busy they are, if they even do it or not.
And who's working?
And who's working, right? Yeah. I don't know. I've never heard of a policy like that. So I don't know if any of them have a global policy as to where they would do it or not do it.
So do you think it may be up to the individual store?
It could be if there's not a corporate policy. If there's a corporate policy, then they either do it or they don't at all the stores. Go ahead.
Yes, if you hit factory reset, does that set your phone back to 0?
It depends on, you talking about an iPhone?
Yes.
Yeah, an iPhone actually has a white feature on it. But I have phones that are way older than iPhones. Talking flip phones and yeah, way older that you're on your own for getting the data off of And also, at some point, even some of those older phones may not even work anymore on today's networks. So they may be totally useless, at least as a phone at that point. And then recycling would be the only option.
Well, there are some very powerful industrial magnets. I wonder if you put your phone on that, if it would erase everything. No.
Well, one, you wouldn't be able to trust it. Two, you may also be damaging the phone itself at that point, if it did work.
If you had an industrial magnet that weighed a few hundred pounds and you dropped it on the phone, that would
Doesn't clear the background.
Go ahead.
If you have a working iPhone 3GS or 4 specifically, and you're doing any international travel or know anybody that is, if it's AT&T, I don't know about Verizon, AT&T will unlock it for free, which allows you to go to that country wherever you're going to be traveling to, and instead of paying international roaming rates, which are exorbitant, you can get a local SIM, pop it into your iPhone, use your pay for data, it's not very cheap, but it's kind of like going to your Radio Shack and buying a pay-as-you-go phone. You can put it in your iPhone, have international data. My son went to Israel, we gave him an iPhone 4, unlocked it from AT&T at no cost, and for $79 he had unlimited data and 200 minutes to use for a month.
Question I've always had on that unlocking procedure is, and this is something, because I always forget to do it before the upgrade. So let's say I had a 4 and upgraded to a 5. And now the 5's active, done, transferred, the 4 is wiped. How would I now tell them to unlock it? Because it's not even active anymore.
It's easier when the phone actually has.
See, that's what I meant. So it's like, if you're going to do that, they will do it if it's out of contract, but do it before your upgrade, because they're going to do it remotely over, when you call them on the phone. You're going to say, hey, I want you to unlock my iPhone 4, 3GS, whatever, and they're going to ask you for your phone number and all that stuff. And they can send the signal or let you type in whatever to get it done, but the phone actually has to be, as far as I know, working for you to do that. Once you've done the upgrade, your new phone is now that number and the old one isn't anymore. So it's not possible to do it remotely at that point.
We were able to move the SIM from one to the other.
Yeah, unless you put the SIM back in. That might work.
But it worked perfectly. And then when he came back, we sold the phone for $300 off Craigslist.
That was a 4 or a 3? 4.
Nobody mentioned Sprint, so I might as well. Sprint will do a SIM unlock on their CDMA phone for anybody that's a customer in good standing for long enough. Doesn't matter whether it's on contract or not.
Yeah. As it should be. I've never understood a lot of things about AT&T I don't understand.
If you've got to change the SIM card, that means you have to open the phone?
No, there's a little tray on the side of the phone. Just pop that little tray out with the SIM in it.
Use paper that pops out.
What carrier do you have?
Verizon.
Verizon's don't have a SIM slot if it's a 4. Because Verizon was CDMA, they didn't have SIM slots back then.
GSM is more of an international.
Right. And same thing applies if you have a cellular iPad that's got a SIM slot in it as well. The one on the menu is actually right there. Any other questions or comments about today? If not, we'll wrap things up with our wrap.
Okay.